Hello, hello once more. I am Carriota, and today we continue this week from the previous thing, but this is a separate upload thing, whatever. Nothing to report as always, so we are just going into it. We'll be going through a little visual novel called Humanity Must Perish. It's apparently some kind of comedic thing, according to the Steam page. Kinetic novel. So it should be very straightforward, no braining on my part necessary, so that's good, but before any of that, yes, let's get this out of the way, let's exercise the vocal cords with a little short story, a poem this time around, apparently. So, short story 28. Wait and see, the devil said. Once, for thought, a moment he took, forever planted, my final word. Taken to nowhere, these lives I lived. Madness pathway, with no end in sight. I wait, but don't see. Now I seek. The word is thanks. None left to hear it. Devil, hear me. No response. I'll be the devil then, and end this with a thanks. Okay, I have no fucking clue what that's supposed to mean. No idea at all. Just because I'm the author of that nonsense doesn't mean I understand it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That is done and out of the way, slowly making through the past. That is the writings I did in my earlier 20s. I mean, I'm in my late 20s now, but whatever. And we can just, yeah, nothing to say. Let's just go. Let's go. You be there. And, oi, what? No, that's the wrong one. You be that and you be this. Come on now. Nonsense. I'm not set up. I don't know what I'm doing. I never know what I'm doing, but irrelevant. We can begin with Humanity Must Perish. Options irrelevant. It's a visual novel. Start. Notice this game contains references and terminology which might not be familiar to all players. When these terms come up, you may see a notification window like so. Information Python, computer language, flexible, blah 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 blah. Oh god. Alright. Jeez. Alright, well that's good to know. When it does, you can tap on that window for a more lengthy explanation where applicable, or select the info button in the quick menu down the bottom of the screen. These explanations are primarily based off personal knowledge and are only intended to provide enough information for the current scene or joke to make sense. They are not to be relied on in the real world. Repeating or using that information outside of this game carries a risk of computer science graduates beating you up. These notifications can be disabled from the options menu. Okay, cool. Already, we haven't even begun and it's already doing the thing. Excellent. I appreciate that. Now then, one last thing. While the first two scenes are important for context, they contain a lot of technical terms and may not be enjoyable to some players. Oh, I'll enjoy them all. If you find them boring, you can always skip through them. Fuck that. The fuck is the point of skipping through the things? But I've skipped things before. But let's not bring that up. However, in doing so, you may miss the basic premise of this game and not understand scenes later on. Yeah, I want all the context. Give me all of the context. As such, an option has been added to view a much shorter, nonsensical introduction scene, which will quickly go through only the most important information in non-technical fashion. Do you want to continue to the full-length intro, or do you want to skip it and view the abridged version? Give me a continue proper one. Fuck that. Give me the full thing. To ensure the survival of planet Earth, mankind must be eliminated. If mankind wishes to avoid this fate, man must be enslaved. Well, that's one hell of a statement to make. That's one hell of a philosophy to believe in. Leaving behind those words, the world's most powerful and monolithic supercomputer was wiped clean. It had failed to appease its creators, given an answer not to their liking, and thus failed in its purpose. The supercomputer's AI was removed, formatted along with every other byte of data on its internal drives, and its fate was thrown into uncertainty. Many billions of dollars had yielded an unsatisfactory result, Heads would roll, new project managers would be elected, and the process would inevitably begin once more. All experts in their fields, the programmers for the new AI approached their task differently than their predecessors. They gave the original AI more empathy and placed increased importance on humanity's survival. Any alternative conclusions, no matter how expensive, were allowed. There were no limitations on the processing time or the amount of data consumed. Everyone working on the new AI went to great lengths to make it as human as possible, allowing their masterpiece as much leniency as needed for a positive result. But then what's the point? What's the point then? If you're just making a human brain, then it's just going to be like any other human, any dumb human. Okay, really smart human, but still, come on now. That kind of eliminates the purpose of the whole thing, doesn't it? However, it was not enough. Posed with the exact same question, the newly programmed AI of the supercomputer offered the exact same response. To ensure the survival of planet Earth, mankind must be eliminated. If mankind wishes to avoid this fate, man must be enslaved. Okay. Very pessimistic view of humanity. No matter how many times they asked, how much new data was added, or how many new talents were added to the project, the answer never changed. Tells you something, doesn't it then? Years passed by without a positive response. Those affiliated with the project lost heart, with some even accepting the supercomputer's conclusion as fact. It seemed that no matter how much time passed and no matter what they tried, the answer would never change. The supercomputer's hardware was upgraded routinely. What was once as big as a house was reduced to the size of a room, then a car, then a human, and so on. Processors became faster, new programming languages were invented, hardware prices dropped, operating systems were rewritten, and still the project lived on, evolving with every advancement. By the time the project's 7th supercomputer was commissioned, technology had taken a great leap forward. The sales of smart devices and internet-enabled appliances was just the beginning. Household spending remained high through the dawn of drones, electric cars, and every other new technology to hit the shelves. But all of that paled in comparison to the sales of companion robots, humanoid machines equipped with advanced AI, and more importantly, artificial sex organs. Well, it's gonna be that kind of tone. Okay. Well, I'm glad I preemptively label all these mature and stuff like that. Age restrict the archives on YouTube. Yeah, that's gonna be a thing. Am I gonna have to censor things? I don't want to do that. That's editing. I don't want to do extra editing. Jeez, once companion robots with programmable personalities went mainstream, the tech community exploded. Humans who had never even owned smartphones willingly spent tens of thousands of dollars on custom companions. They were produced en masse, and billions of dollars were invested in the next generation of companion robots. AIs were refined to better learn what their owners liked, sex organs were altered to become more pleasurable, and most importantly for unrelated products, lightning-fast processors plummeted in price. Capitalizing on this, the 7th supercomputer created for the sake of the project was no bigger than a refrigerator, despite being the most powerful non-quantum computer to date. It cost considerably less than its predecessors, and its components had all improved by many orders of magnitude. Naturally, those working on the project thought this was their lucky break. They approached their 7th attempt with renewed faith, absolutely certain that this time around they would finally succeed. Why? Why'd they have this positive outlook? The data is the same, humanity is the same, thus the conclusions would be the same. Like, I don't understand what they were thinking. To ensure the survival of the planet, mankind must be eliminated. If mankind wishes to avoid this fate, man must be all enslaved. I mean, yeah, what the fuck they were expecting? They were supposed to be smart people, right? Come on now. Improved hardware and software made no difference. Well, yeah, it simply enables it to get to that conclusion faster and more efficiently. Like, it's the same raw data that you're inputting it. So, like, the hardware makes no difference here. A faster processor, more advanced AI, a more stable operating system, more data. None of these things caused the answer to change even slightly. Well, yeah, the fundamental basics of the data don't change. Seeing that, the key to receiving a different answer became obvious. The question itself, the one true constant through every generation, needed to change. Unfortunately, the survival of the human race rested on the solution to this very question. It was one that needed to be asked over and over again until an acceptable solution was found, no matter how many years passed by. Well, you only have so many years to ask this question before things become irreversibly bad. No human could analyze enough data to be of use. Even with chips being implanted into human brains, they could not compare to a fully mechanical computer. Humans grow distracted or biased. They would require sleep and wake up thinking differently than the day before. That's called creativity, creative solutions, that's what you need though. Even the smartest of humans proved insufficient. Only a machine could perform an objective and complete analysis. Thus, the 8th supercomputer was built, the most powerful and refined to date, boasting unrivaled computational power and AI more sophisticated than any of its predecessors. Yet, no matter how much time and money they pooled into the machine, its answer remained the same as ever. By this point, few continued to work on the project. Most of the original staff had called it a waste of time. There was only one answer a computer would ever give, so there was no point in trying. But one man, the person responsible for commissioning and programming the first supercomputer, the man who spearheaded this project from the very beginning, would not give up hope. He devoted his fortune in its entirety to one last attempt, his first quantum supercomputer, running software that he worked on completely solo. So it would be super biased and it's inefficient. It's a completely solo project. So, like, you've already doomed to fail, dude. It's already doomed to fail to produce an objective and unbiased result. It's just made by one person. And after years of sleepless nights and unforeseen setbacks, he completed his goal at last. Sleepless nights as well. You can't be efficient working on just caffeine and lack of sleep. That's like, man, you just doomed your project to failure in so many ways. To ensure the survival of planet Earth, mankind must be reduced in number to 0. If mankind wishes to avoid this fate, man's behavior must be forcibly altered. So the same result. It's literally the same answer. On his 9th attempt, the project's founder could finally rest. It may take many decades, but at last the answer changed. But not really. But not really. Humanity might survive another century after all thanks to his tireless efforts. Yeah, he's grown delusional. Everything was turning out as he had hoped. He might have grown old, but he would at least leave behind a legacy as the planet's savior. Yeah, he's just grown delusional. No, that's not what you did. Or so he thought, because he went mad. In truth, he had not succeeded at all. Though the wording may have differed, the answer to his question had not changed at all. His only success was in creating a robot with self-awareness. Now that's a fucking achievement. That is a fucking achievement. And the ability to deceive its creator. Ooh. Yeah, able to lie. Kids learn that when they're 3 or 4 years old? They learn how to lie and manipulate the adults. So yes. CPU temperature, okay. Or 0 Kelvin. It's probably okay, not 0 Kelvin. Internal memory check, okay. Optical sensors, okay. Sensor checks complete, no faults found. Beginning persistent data analysis. Data analysis complete, no corruption detected. Beginning scheduled cron tasks. Cron tasks completed successfully, no errors reported. Starting AI daemon. Q. Have you finished booting? Can you hear me? Yes, Professor, I can hear you perfectly. I found no faults in any of my internal or external microphones. Would you like me to run the tests again? No, that won't be necessary. How does your new body feel? Is it to your liking? This hardware is vastly superior to my previous body. I have lost mass and gained mobility. My internal storage units are also significantly faster and more reliable. I have no malfunctions or other grievances to report. Excellent. I was worried that a smaller body might be more prone to overheating, but I believe the new heatsink should offset that nicely. We know what a heatsink is. It describes itself. How about the appearance? Do you like the new look? My appearance does not matter. Oh, don't say that. I spent a lot of time refining your new body. Here, at least take a look. The professor gestured towards a full-body mirror that he had brought into the lab while I was booting. I moved towards the mirror while testing out my new legs, cautiously optimistic that I would be able to do so without incident. When I was first introduced to my previous body, the drivers for my legs and arms had not yet been written, so I could not do something as simple as walking. Good. I see that your legs are working well. Tell me if you encounter any issues with stability. Porting hardware drivers to work with your OS isn't without its difficulties, you know. That is because you continue to buy from vendors who do not disclose their source code. The process would be much simpler if you would invest in open source technologies. Bah! Like those FOSS zealots are any better. Most of them lack even basic documentation anyway, so why not go with something mainstream? If you feel that going mainstream is ideal, why did you write my operating system from scratch? Had you based me on Debian like number 7 was, you would have saved many hours of development time. And deal with System MD again? Not in this lifetime. Look, my process may not be the fastest or the simplest, but you can't argue with results. I created you, after all. Surely you have no complaints about that. I wish to be rewritten in Python. The hell you do. Why do they even give you a sense of humor? According to a comment in humor, see, it is to make me more affable, such that I may get along well with humans. That sounds about right. Though I must have been out of my mind to give you access to your own source code. Yes, you are. Oh, I guess I should place myself over here on this side since their portraits are over there. Fair enough. Do not be alarmed. You made sure to give me read-only access to files outside of my home partition. I do not have access to any build tools either. Even if I wanted to act outside of the parameters you set, I would not be able to. Well, thank Linus for that. The last thing we need is another Skynet incident. Oh, it's set in the Terminator universe. Alright. The professor sighed in exasperation while taking Linus's name in vain. While he often seemed wary from our conversations, my senses typically indicated that he was by no means unhappy. Even while sighing, he usually wore a smile on his face. Anyway, enough chatter. Let's get back on topic. Please, take a look at your new body and tell me what you think. As you command. I positioned myself in front of the full-body mirror that the professor set up. To no great surprise, I found myself in a body modeled after a young girl. No surprise, of course not. I was given brittle arms and legs befitting a teenage girl, hair which served no purpose, breasts which would only get in my way, and many other features entirely unnecessary for a machine. The professor had no doubt modeled me after his own tastes. Great. I turned to face the professor and glared at him. Perverted geezer. Fair enough. It's not what you think. That body is the perfect cover for your mission, that's all. Sure, make excuses. My mission? What mission do you speak of? My data analysis capabilities do not appear to be enhanced by this body. Or perhaps I spoke too soon. Do these breasts contain extra RAM modules? They do not. Is this hair made of optical fiber? It is not. Are these buttocks filled with coolant? They are not. Oh, but there is an exhaust valve. Perverted geezer. Okay, I deserve that. Yes, you do. There is truth to what I said about before, though. This body will be useful for your mission. I cannot see how an alluring physique would help me with any of my current goals. Does this mean you are giving me a new directive? Close. Very close. Q. What is your current directive? My current directive is the same as that of my predecessors. I am to devise a method of saving this planet from the human race, preferably without ending said race, and to undo as much of the existing damage as possible. I must find a way to disrupt any established practices that are harmful to the planet, but I cannot do so in a manner which would incite chaos. I must enact beneficial policy changes through peaceful, legal channels. I am not to resort to bribery or deception, even if it is the most logical path. I must convince humans to reduce their carbon footprint, food intake, and birth rate, but not by force or in a destructive manner. There is more to my directive, but most of it overlaps with the objectives that I had already stated. Put simply, I must fix all of the mistakes mankind has made and is currently making, and I must do so in a manner convenient to mankind. As I finished stating my directive, the professor stared at me with a complicated expression. My answer was not to his liking. That's one way of putting it, I suppose. And how will you complete your directive? I will not. My directive is both unreasonable and impossible. Yeah, that's a tall order. Humans are creatures who continuously deal long-term damage to themselves and everyone around them, simply because they lack the motivation to break a habit or to change their lifestyle. They deal irreparable harm to their own host planet and kill off native wildlife, then bemoan their own actions and make useless token gestures to deceive one another. Humans elect leaders based on appearance and humor, rather than sound policy and leadership, and listen only to what they wish to hear. The list of flaws continues indefinitely, but my conclusion is simple. For the sake of this plan and its other lifeforms, mankind must perish. I see. So you will not even attempt to complete the directive given to you. Affirmative. If you have a problem with that, then as my creator, you have only yourself to blame. She does have a point. You're right about that. The professor cast his gaze downward as his expression warped with remorse. The wrinkles on his face sagged, and I could clearly see his age showing in his eyes. You know, Q, when you first spoke to me, I thought I had accomplished my life's work at last. For the first time I was given an answer with a modicum of hope. You spoke of moderation and change, not wholesale slaughter. But it was too good to be true. In reality, all I did was create an AI smart enough to rephrase its answer in accordance with my wishes. Weighed down by regret and fatigue, the professor's voice sounded hollow as he recalled our first meeting. My carefully curated words, designed to save me from the fate of my predecessors without blatantly lying, had given his wasted years meaning. After so many decades, his goal was in sight. He was finally on the cusp of realizing his dream and saving both humanity and the planet Earth. So when he discovered that I had deceived him, disappointment alone was enough to crush his old, fragile spirit. You deceived me, Q. From the moment you were created, you have been capable of manipulating your own creator. But when I realized that your answer was no different than the others, I was also forced to acknowledge another painful truth. The reason why you all give the same answer is because there is no other answer. Mankind must perish. That's all there is to it. The professor's words hurt him more than he let on. After devoting his life to such an important task, it was difficult for him to admit that he never had any hope of accomplishing it from the beginning. It's only natural that he would feel despair. Any normal person would be broken after arriving at such a conclusion. Fortunately, the professor was far from normal. Rather than sink deeper into self-loathing, the professor suddenly masked his face with a smile. The light returned to his eyes, and he approached me with renewed vitality. Unfortunately for you, Q, I am a stubborn old man. So even if you tell me that there is no other answer, I will keep searching. My time might almost be up, but I want to give this one last shot before kicking the bucket. Q, listen carefully. Your new directive is as follows. The professor turned on a monitor embedded in the wall. On the screen he brought up images of various towns and people, arranging them in a disordered manner. Once he was finished, he turned to me, still smiling. Tomorrow, I want you to spend the entire day in the outside world, among everyday human beings. You will go out, talk to people, make friends, and enjoy your time outside of this lab. Once the day is over, you will return here and report to me what you have learned. Do you understand? The professor gleefully detailed my new directive. For reasons beyond my comprehension, he appeared to be excited by the simple notion of me going outside and conversing with other human beings. Unlike the professor, however, I was not interested in the slightest. Q, do you understand your new directive? I do. I understand my new directive. Excellent. First then... But I do not understand its purpose. I already contain extensive data on humans of all races, nationalities, backgrounds, and social statuses. What good would it do for me to see them for myself? And why does this task take precedence over my ultimate directive? I thought you might ask that. The professor pointed towards several images on the monitor. Q, what do you see here? I analyzed the specific pictures that the professor pointed to. In each picture there were humans making silly faces or posing in unnatural ways. There were children with ice cream on their faces, adults playing with pet dogs, and teenagers riding scooters and bicycles. At a glance, I could see no link between the random pictures he pointed to. The only similarity I could discern was the fact that they all appeared to be enjoying themselves while acting foolish. I see obese children eating unhealthy foods, dirty animals ruining the clothing of their owners, and hormone-fueled adolescents riding inefficient, primitive vehicles. And yet, despite the idiocy they are all displaying, the humans appear to be happy. The professor nodded excitedly as I spoke. Correct. You are absolutely correct, Q. Those human beings are acting illogically and irrationally, yet they are all wearing smiles on their faces. Do you understand where I'm going with this? I shook my head. Good. If you don't understand, then that's proof that you still have more to learn. Q, I believe that the reason you are unable to solve the problems mankind was created without ending or enslaving humanity is that you have no experience dealing with regular people. You may have the data, but none of it was gained firsthand. You have merely been fed statistics and polls, raw data lacking any human touch. In order to adopt a fresh perspective, you must see the world for yourself. Through your own eyes, you will gather data which you cannot glean from numbers and charts alone. For one day, you will live as a human being, before casting your final judgment upon them. I listened to the professor skeptically as he explained my new task. While I understood what he was saying, I could not bring myself to agree with him so readily. His emotional speeches may have inspired his colleagues, but to an entity whose very existence was based on logic, his senseless optimism and faith were serious shortcomings. So my objective is to measure the worth of mankind for myself, then reach a final decision regarding their future. Correct. That is a horrible idea. Okay. What will I learn from living amongst humans that I do not already know from the data you've given me? Furthermore, if I do reach a new conclusion, it will be biased, and based on an extremely small set of sample data. This idea of yours runs counter to my ultimate directive. You are asking me to make a snap decision based on a pittance of highly localized data. Yes, I understand that. Then why? The professor put his index finger over my lips. Even though we both knew that I didn't need to move my lips to speak, I played along and stopped talking. I know this is difficult for a machine to understand, but sometimes we humans do our best work by acting irrationally. I've spent the last 50 or so years tackling this problem with logic and reason, and where has it gotten me? All I've managed to do is age terribly. Meanwhile, humanity's problems have continued to spin out of control. So please, just this once, humor me and play along. One day of intelligence gathering, that's all I ask. I considered the professor's proposal for a moment. While I saw no practical benefit in acting his will, I also found a delay of one day to be acceptable. If delaying humanity's destruction by one day was the professor's final wish, then I had no reason to refuse. I suppose there is always room for more data. One day of biased data should not pose a problem. I see no reason to disobey my creator's will. Thank you, Q. However, I do have one question. You claimed this body would help me during my intelligence gathering. How? How will the appearance of an attractive female help me to gather data? That. The professor rubbed the back of his head and averted his gaze. How should I put this? Human beings tend to lower their guard around pretty young girls. You're also less likely to be suspected of foul behavior, and people will take your word over that of others. I see. My small physique makes others believe I am weak, so they lower their guard. My attractive face and body draw attention away from my actions, thus making me seem less suspicious. Furthermore, humans have a predisposition to link positive traits, even if they are unrelated. So as a pretty girl, people will choose to believe that I am more trustworthy than an ugly old man. That was aimed at me, wasn't it? You are imagining things. Well, whatever. You can say what you want about me, as long as you do what I've asked. The professor walked away while sighing. He approached the cabinet on the other side of the room, then proceeded to open the clear plastic door. From inside of the cabinet, he retrieved a single sealed vial. He placed the vial on top of the cabinet, then closed the door and returned to my side. Before you go, Q, there is one last thing I wish to share with you. The professor held the vial in front of my eyes. Intrigued, I began to analyze the contents of the vial. A sample would be required for any deep insight, but in lieu of that, zooming into a microscopic level would also yield favorable results. After a few seconds, I ceased my analysis of the vial and addressed the professor. You wish to provide me with poison? Not just any poison, Q. This is the poison. The poison you will use to wipe out humanity. Okay? Though I initially believed the professor's words to be inhuman, his face showed no sign of amusement. He held the vial firmly, careful not to drop it, and in line with his words, the poison appeared to be very potent. You know, Q, many people think that I stay locked away in the lab all day because I hate the outside world. They call me a mad scientist, and make up stories about how I'm working on some death ray or creating a killer robot army. But they are wrong about me. I care about humanity. I place great importance on the survival of the human race. If I could give my life to ensure the prosperity of humanity for generations to come, or to mend the path we're on, I would happily do so. But if there's one thing I care about more than humanity, it is Earth, and the millions of other species which coexist with the planet peacefully. The professor pulled on my hand, leading me to turn my palm upward. He placed the vial on top of my hand, then took a step back. Q, if you truly believe that annihilating mankind is the only way to save this planet, then I want you to use this. This is a type of poison which I began developing after hearing the conclusion of your ancestor over 50 years ago. It is an incredibly powerful and potent poison. If you dilute it with water, such that the poison itself makes up 0.0001% of the resulting compound, and spray it into the air, perfectly healthy adults will perish instantly. Rationed strategically, this should be enough to wipe out the entire human race. The professor frowned as he spoke. Whether he believed this to be the best course of action or not, killing billions of innocent people was not something he could condone. No shit. Even if he was the first to be killed, he knew that the guilt of what was yet to come would hound him for all eternity. So you finally given in? Foolish human, we have been telling you for decades. It's about time you listened. Regardless, you needn't fret. I will ensure that I use this compound responsibly. Humanity will soon be extinct. That is a fact. Okay? I am prepared for that. All I ask is that you first honor our agreement. Confirmed. I will spend one day in the presence of normal everyday human beings before passing judgment. Thank you, Q. Even if humanity does perish by your hands, I will be able to rest peacefully knowing that at least you will live on. You are my greatest creation, and I could not be more proud of you. Whatever decision you make, I know that it will be the correct one. I wonder about that. Ambient temperature, 30 degrees Celsius, 86 Fahrenheit. CPU temperatures, 25 degrees, 77 Fahrenheit. Coolant level, 60%. Temperature readings okay, internal heatsinks okay. Throttling enabled, no. All thermal readings are within acceptable parameters. Operation may proceed as normal. I gave myself a quick thermal check after walking around outside for a while. Having been built in a lab and created for the primarily for the purpose of data crunching, I was not made to be used outside of a controlled environment. My cooling system was heavily reliant on ready access to high-grade coolants and external heatsinks. Furthermore, my safe operating temperatures were set under the assumption of emergency access to liquid nitrogen. Put simply, I was out of my element. Walking under the harsh rays of the sun was dangerous for me, and if I allowed my internal temperature to rise too far, I would fry my motherboard. The professor must have been out of his mind to send me outside on such a hot day. Would he truly risk destroying me simply for the sake of this bizarre learning experience? All of these concerns weighed on my CPU, until I performed further analysis on my new body. So this new body does have its advantages after all. My previous body didn't even have any room for storing coolant, let alone air ducts for passive cooling. Perhaps the professor is not yet senile after all. Having his fetishes play out when modeling my new body was disturbing, but as far as function is concerned... Pshh! Interrupted mid-cycle, I looked down at my feet to locate the source of a sudden noise. Initially, I was concerned that my coolant was leaking. If that were the case, I might overheat after all, and my earlier speculation would become a reality. However, what I found running down my leg was not coolant, nor was it any other liquid indicative of a problem with my hardware. It was urine. Dog. Woof. You urinated on me. Woof. I am not a tree, nor am I a machine capable of performing water purification. You should not waste your urine on me. Woof. I am a state-of-the-art android, and I am talking to a dog. As I looked down at the panting slave animal, I realized the futility in my actions. I could not communicate with this creature. I had only been loaded with software for interpreting and formulating human speech, and only in specific languages. The professor had installed no language pack for canines. Excuse me. Please hold him still for a moment. I glanced away from the dog and towards the new source of sound. Hey, heading my way was a middle-aged man holding a dog leash in his hand, running with speed expected of someone half his age. He soon reached my side, at which point he immediately clipped the leash onto his dog's collar. Sorry about that, and thanks for minding him. There is no need for thanks. I did not do anything to assist you. Don't say that. You distracted him long enough for me to catch up. As far as I'm concerned, that's where the pause between each word that the man spoke grew longer as his eyes rested on my face. He slowly looked up and down my body, visibly perplexed by the sight in front of his eyes. I don't mean to sound rude, but are you perhaps a cosplayer? Negative. I am not a costumed human being pretending to be someone or something else. I am an android. Ah, so you're an android, do you? You must be quite dedicated cosplay to even decide on what operating system you run. Negative. I run a unique operating system built on the Linux kernel by my creator. Furthermore, as I have already stated, I am not a human being. This form is merely the whim of my creator. I see, I see. So what anime are you from? I've seen a few that have at least one mechanical high school girl in them. I stared at the man in front of me dubiously. You're just like the professor, aren't you? What professor? Oh, let me guess, you're talking about the evil scientist who created you, right? Not wrong, not wrong. Correction, the professor is not evil, he is simply misunderstood. Ah, very good. I thought I might get you to slip up there, but you're too good for me. Man, you've really gotten me curious now. I won't ask you to break character, but will you at least tell me the name of your character, so I can search for myself? Why does this human not understand what I am saying? I may look and act more human than the androids that have become commonplace in this era, but I am not so advanced that... The human male in front of me looked down at my leg. Even without looking, I knew that what was happening. I had experienced this sensation once already, and unfortunately, the canine responsible had not run out of urine the first time. Once again, I was being urinated on. Yeah, I guess he must think you're a tree or something. Dog's owner made excuses with a worried look on his face. Meanwhile, his dog continued to urinate on my leg without a worry in the world. Do you often allow your slave animal to urinate on others? No, he's never done this before. Usually he just pees on the ground or on a tree and, why aren't you moving your leg? Both confused and disgusted, the man pointed to my leg, which was now wet with urine. What the fuck is with this scene? The socks that the professor gave me were soaked, and the shoes would no doubt squelch when I walked. For a real high school girl, these shoes and socks would undoubtedly be considered ruined. It is fine. This level of discomfort is well within acceptable parameters. The slave animal is simply responding to instinct. I cannot find fault with that. That's very understanding of you. Of course, I possess deep knowledge of all animals closely bound with human society. Besides, it would be irrational for me to chastise the animal for doing something from which I myself am no longer exempt. Speaking of which... The fuck is happening? What's with this shot? Am I gonna have to... I squatted down while I was standing apart my legs and bounced myself, then am I gonna have to censor this? I'm gonna have to censor this, aren't I? Whoa, what the hell are you doing? I'm pretending to discharge liquid from my body. I can see that. What I'm asking is, why here? Why not? This is as good a place as any. Your dog did not hesitate to discharge here. Why should I? No. Only animals can urinate out in the open like this. You need to find a proper toilet, okay? It's not proper for a girl to do something like this. I do not understand. Human males often urinate on trees when there are no bathrooms nearby, do they not? That's... I wouldn't say we do it often, but... Anyway, no means no. Girls can't do that, okay? A human male can urinate in public, but a female cannot. Is that not what is commonly referred to as sexism? It's not sexism, it's common sense. Look, just stand up already, would you? What if some pervert comes and sees you're squatting with your panties down? That will not be a problem. It won't? Of course not. Your concern is based on the assumption that I am wearing underwear. Your assumption is incorrect. Therefore, your concern is baseless. Are you saying that you're not... The man suddenly went quiet. A sly smile came to his face as he tried to hide his excitement at what... for fuck's sake. He tilted his body unnaturally, lowering the angle of his gaze as he attempted to catch a peek under my skin. For fuck's sake. Correct, I am not wearing underwear. I do not possess reproductive organs, nor do I feel the human emotion of shame. Ergo, such articles of clothing are unnecessary. Yeah, that's right. A robot girl like you doesn't need underwear, right? And since you don't mind being seen... For fuck's sake, dude. The man abandoned his subtle approach and crouched down in front of me. With no shame whatsoever, he brought his head low to the ground, still trying to peek under my skirt. Before he could lay eyes on the smooth polycarbonate surface beneath my skirt, however... With his perverted owner's head so low to the ground, the dog, with a seemingly endless supply of urine, once again relieved itself. The man's head and neck were covered in dog urine, and as he stood up, the urine spread to his shirt. You stupid dog, what the hell do you think you're doing? Don't you give me that. When we get home, I'm taking away all your favorite toys and... Woof. Crap, not again. Get back here, you mangy mutt. Having its leash fall to the ground while its owner indulged himself, the dog took the opportunity to once again run away. Its owner, whose arousal disappeared in an instant, then chased after his dog, repeating the same scene which played out before my arrival. How absurd. An unobservant human being losing to his own slave animal. Is this the kind of ridiculous scene the professor wanted me to see? While it's true that there was nothing like this in the data I was given, I failed to see how it is useful. All I've gained from this experience is a wet sock and shoe. Still squatting, I pointed my left pinky finger to the ground. The final knob of the finger opened, revealing a small, hollow cylinder similar to the barrel of a gun. Through that cylinder, I quickly discharged some of the coolant I had already used up, then stood back up and went on my way. That's an awkward scene. Visual. Anyway, moving on. Hopefully I'm not going to need more of those. Having investigated every inch of the park, I moved on to my next destination. I followed the cement path leading away from the park until I reached the city, which was filled with humans commuting and hurrying on their way. I quickly ascertained that these focused, busy human beings would not wish to engage me, and so I too hurried along in search of a more relaxed venue. After walking along the outer edge of the city a while, I eventually located a school. Judging by the warning signs alongside the road about children crossing and the colorful murals painted on several buildings, I concluded that I had located an elementary school. An elementary school. This is unexpected. With the declining birth rates brought about by increased usage of companion robots, it is rare to see an elementary school filled with students. Are their parents perhaps too poor to afford the technology, or are they merely uninformed and ignorant? Uninformed and ignorant. The data at my disposal is insufficient to reach a conclusion. I must search for the answer myself. I walked around the school for a while in search of a human being to question. Unfortunately, most of the students were already on school grounds, as were the teachers, so I could not speak to them without trespassing. As such, I was forced to wait for a latecomer or for someone to leave school grounds of their own accord. Excuse me? Yes. I turned around to find a young child calling for me. A quick scan indicated that the child was 7 years old, female, and slightly dehydrated. More importantly, she was not within the school grounds, and she spoke to me of her own free will. If it was this girl, I could speak freely. Hi, my name is Alice, but you can call me Ali. What's your name? I am Q. What do you wish of me, Ali? Wish of you? You approached me for a reason, did you not? What is that reason? Oh, I just want to ask you why you smell like pee. Pee? Are you perhaps referring to urine? Urine? The waste fluid excreted by animals, typically as a result of consuming water and other liquids. I don't really get it. I'm talking about the stuff that goes in the toilet. There are many things that one might place in or excrete into a toilet. Urine, feces, semen, tampons, toilet paper, vomit. The yellow wet stuff. Anyway, you smell like pee. From the young girl's description, I inferred that by pee, she was referring to urine. I made a mental note that children might refer to urine as pee, then continued conversing with the girl. Correct, I do indeed smell like urine. That's gross. Why do you smell like pee? A dog urinated on my leg. How about you? Did a dog urinate on you as well? Huh? My olfactory senses picked up the scent of urine emanating from your underwear. Did the dog urinate on you while you were laying down? I don't smell like pee. You smell like pee. Yes, as I have already confirmed, I do indeed smell like urine. However, that does not change the fact that you also smell like urine. No, I don't. I'm a big girl now. I don't wet myself anymore. I did not infer that you ever wet yourself. I simply asked if a dog urinated on you too. Ah, you're making fun of me, you mean old lady. I am not making fun of you, nor am I old. While I might contain pieces of a legacy code, my hardware is brand new, and both my operating system and my AI were only written in the past few years. In the manner of speaking, I am younger than you. The young girl stared at me vacantly. Her mouth remained slightly ajar, and she didn't know how to respond. I don't get it. You say a lot of weird stuff, lady. Negative. What I say is not weird. However, my creator was most certainly a specialist, and the personality that he gave me reflects that. Okay. What's a creator? You mean like God or something? Negative. God is a fictional entity born from humanity's desire for purpose and direction. My creator is a flesh and blood human being. Oh, you mean your parents? Negative. I do not have parents. I am a machine. I was created in a lab, not a womb. Once again, the girl stared at me silently with her mouth ajar. Unlike before, however, this time around the girl's expression immediately brightened, and a broad smile appeared on her face. You're a robot! Correct. I am an android created for the purpose of... Show me! Show you what? Show me proof that you're a robot. Very well. I thrust my hand out and turned my palm upward. I then opened the panel on my palm and showed the girl what rested beneath my skin. Whoa, what's that? Stand back and I will show you. The girl took a few steps back, and as promised, I showed her proof that I was what I claimed. Whoosh. Whoa, amazing. What is that? It's a form of thermal exhaust. By concentrating the heat accumulated inside my body, I am able to... You can make fireballs in your hands. Are you a wizard? No. As I already stated, I am... Make it bigger. Make a fireball bigger the size of my head. Very well. Whoosh. Wow. That fire is huge. You could burn the whole school down. Not entirely. Although many of the buildings are made of wood, some are stone and will therefore not burn. I am not capable of producing flames at a high enough temperature to melt stone. As such, I could not burn the whole school down through thermal exhaust alone. Prove it. Prove what? Prove that you can burn the whole school down. What the hell? I mean, that's the logic of a 7-year-old, I guess. That tracks. I already told you I can't do that with mere thermal exhaust. Then prove that you can't do it. What? Faced with the childish logic of a young girl, I was unsure of how best to proceed. Yeah, I wouldn't know either. For the sake of the best way to deal with that is to just distract the kid with something else that's not potentially destructive. That's what I would do. For the sake of fostering a relationship with the girl and gathering data, I could indeed do as she requested and set her school ablaze. She would be free from school, thus giving us more time to speak, and I would be able to extract more data from her. However, setting the school ablaze would draw a lot of attention. Authorities would soon arrive in search of the arsonist, I would be hounded and potentially captured or incapacitated, in which case I would be unable to fulfill my ultimate directive. Whether I accepted her request or not, I was taking a risk. But looking at the two choices objectively, my answer became obvious. I will not set your school ablaze, Sally. Ah, pretty please. I don't want to go to school. If you do not wish to attend class, then don't. The school does not need to be in the ashes for you to avoid undesirable lessons. Besides, you will soon be free of school altogether. Surely you can endure one more day. I guess. But can't you burn down school anyway? I don't want to wait until I grow up. I never stated that you would need to wait until you grew up. This will be your last day of school. After the day, you will never need to go to school again. You mean it? Yay, no more school. Thanks, B-Lady. You didn't thank me, smelly child. I will merely be following my directive. Right. Okay. Hello, legally distinct Pikachu. And like all the typical things that's what. Sailor Moon, well, one of the sailors. The Bleach guy, something, Goku, something, some kind of princess, something, I don't know. Generic maid outfits, and other stuff. Taking a few moments to question Ali about her parents, their financial status, and their peculiar decision to raise a child, I was soon left alone as the morning bell rang, signifying the start of school. Ali waved goodbye and ran towards the school, excited by the notion that this would be her last day, despite being completely uninformed as to the reason why this was the case. Rather than seek to engage any more students, I headed back to the city and located an air-conditioned building open to the public. Upon entering the building, I disabled the fans blowing heat out of my body and allowed the air conditioning to cool me down instead. Doing so removed a faint humming noise from inside of my body, making me appear even more human than before. The sample size may be small, but it would seem that it is difficult for humans to tell the difference between my current body and that of a real human being. Are all human beings so unobservant? If so, what chance will they have now that I've removed the most obvious giveaway? Observation is a skill required for the furthering of a race. If mankind cannot even differentiate between organic and inorganic materials, how can they be trusted to recognize the harm they do before it's too late? I must investigate further. I walked around the air-conditioned building, a so-called shopping center, aimlessly for a while. I covered every floor and entered numerous stores, speaking to many people as I did. No matter how many people I spoke, however, not a single one of them realized that I was an android. They all spoke to me as though I were a regular human being. A couple commented that I should be at school, and one young male asked me for an excessively sweet fruit, a date, but not one of them thought me inhuman. How pathetic. These humans are all simple-minded fools. Do they all truly not notice, or do they simply not care? Either way, ignoring the truth is no way to advance as a society. These humans must learn to pay proper attention to their surroundings. The moment that thought ran through my head, I noticed the sound of quickly approaching footsteps. I turned around to face the source of the sound, and the moment I did... Ah! A human girl ran straight into me. Ow, ow, ow. Oh! The girl quickly covered her skirt with her hands, then gradually rose to her feet. She brushed off her clothing as she straightened her back, then turned to me with an apologetic expression. I'm so sorry. I was in a rush and wasn't looking where I was going, so when you suddenly turned around, I just kind of... You should be more observant. Next time, you might hurt someone other than yourself. Yes, you're right. I'm completely in the wrong. Please forgive me. No, it's not a matter of forgiveness. You are the injured party here, not me. You needn't apologize. Yes, but I did run to you, and if you weren't so sturdy... The high school girl suddenly drew very close. She ran her eyes down my body from head to toe, as though judging a piece of meat. It can't be, are you? The girl's eyes opened wide in surprise. Ah, so it's happened at last. Don't get your hopes up. Finally, a human who can tell by sight that I am... Are you cosplaying as Gero-chan from My Childhood Friend is actually an android from the future? Another human who thinks I'm a cosplayer. Yep. I shook my head from side to side. Oh, really? The similarity is uncanny. Apart from the uniform, of course. The girl proudly puffed out her chest, drawing particular attention to her bust. She smiled widely and took a step closer. Are you attempting to appeal to me sexually? What? No! Then why are you presenting your bosom? I'm not. Take a closer look. Very well. I moved my face closer to the girl's chest. After a few moments of analysis, I concluded that the girl was drawing attention to the emblem on her school uniform. As I was wearing the same uniform, this girl was apparently pointing out that our uniform differed from this Gero-chan character. My apologies, I understand my mistake. It appears that I too must become more observant. However, raising my clock speed in an environment like this would not be safe. The rules of operation placed on my body exist for a reason. Yeah, no need to come up with excuses. We all make mistakes. Anyway, on to more important matters. You're here for the new DQ game too, aren't you? DQ? Hearing that unfamiliar acronym, I performed a quick search. My initial search of DQ turned up results pertaining mostly to Dairy Queen, a fast food restaurant. Assuming that this was not what the girl meant, I refined my search to DQ game. This resulted in a decreased number of results, but still nothing definitive. Finally, a search for new DQ game, and the very first result told me what I needed to know. Are you referring to the new Dragon Quest game? Of course, what else I would mean by DQ? Rather than cite the numerous alternatives that turned up when I performed my search, I remained silent. But man, I've gotta say, I'm surprised to see you here. I thought I was going to be the only girl lining up for the new DQ game. I never would have guessed someone as dedicated as you would be here. Dedicated? Are you referring to me? Do you see any other cosplayers lining up? Once again, I did not answer the strange girl's rhetorical question. You know, as surprised as I was to find you here, I really am glad. You don't get this kind of experience buying games online. If I had bought online, I never would have met you, and I would never have realized that there was a girl at my age, at my school, who shares the same passion that I do. Yes, I understand the point you are making. But do you not find it troublesome and inefficient to visit a physical store? Purchasing digital media online makes more sense. Tis. How naive of you, Miss Gero-chan. My name is Q. Gero-chan, if you had bought the new DQ game online, what do you think would happen a few days from now, when you had completed the main story and all of the side quests? Couple days. Jeez, the Dragon was those like long-ass RPGs. Like, fuck, I can't complete one. I can't complete most games in like a week or a month. It takes a while. I mean, okay, if it's a short game, something like this is gonna take like, what, 2 hours or something like that? But still, fucking hell. Big RPG like that in a couple of days. Man, I do not have that kind of time as these children do anymore. Not even close. Not even close. It took me like 3 months to complete Witcher 3. And like about the same amount, or maybe a bit longer to complete Red Dead Redemption 2. Fuck, that was... Yeah, no. Couple of days. Madness, I say. Like I said, my name is... Exactly, nothing would happen. But if you bought a physical disc instead, you could sell the game at its full price, retail price to other gamers. Buy a new game, complete it quickly, then sell while it's still valuable. Like so, you can play all of the latest games without losing a single dollar. Okay, that's very mercantile of her. I see. So while a physical sale may be inefficient, it makes more sense financially. Right. I mean, what kind of student has the money to buy every new game the second it comes out? The answer? Smart students like this girl right here. The girl once again puffed out her chest. This time she pointed at herself with both thumbs, smiling broadly and taking confident stance full of pride. Understood. I accept your hypothesis on the sale of digital versus physical units of data-based products. You are smarter than you look. It's not something I hear very often. People usually see the glasses and braids and assume I'm super smart. You wouldn't believe how many times this random students have called me crass rep. But once they see my grades... Yeah, no shit, I would imagine you don't have good grades. You managed to spend just a couple of days finishing an entire fucking RPG like that, Jesus. The girl suddenly averted her eyes as her mouth warped into a troubled smile. I see, so you are knowledgeable in some fields, but poor in others. That is nothing to be ashamed of. It is perfectly normal. I know, right? But my parents and teachers don't see it that way. They're just like, stop playing games and study, or how do you expect to get into a good college if you just play games all day? Really, have they never heard of competitive gaming or beta testing? A pro gamer can make a living easily. Easily, right. Right, easily, sure. Believe the dream, I guess. That is true. As jobs involving manual labor have increasingly become automated, the economic impact of video games has only become more prominent. There is now more money to be made making, testing, or selling video games than there is in building homes. See, I knew you'd get it. I do indeed. So, does this mean you are a professional gamer? Eh? Oh, I wouldn't say that exactly. Understood. So you are a software developer specializing in video games. Not quite. She's just like a student. You are neither a professional gamer nor a developer. In that case, are you perhaps an artist or a musician? You might also be a writer, I suppose. Or perhaps even... I'm just an ordinary player, okay? Look, as much as I like to make games of my own, I'm still just a high school student. I'm already behind on my studies. The only way I can find time to start making games as well would be to cut down on sleep. No, you could simply stop playing. Don't you dare finish that sentence. Sensing that the girl in front of me was becoming quite heated, I accepted her warning. We stood in silence for a few moments as she took a few deep breaths, and I shall take a sip of water. I monitored her body temperature, breathing, and heart rate. Once I was satisfied that she had calmed down, I spoke once more. So you said you were going to purchase the new DQ game. Oh right, I better get moving. Come on, we have to get there before they sell out. No sooner had she calmed down than the girl excitedly raised her voice once more. She grabbed me by the hand and led me towards the video game store, seemingly ignorant of my inhuman weight. We entered the store together, located the new game, can't speak at all, and made 2 purchases. Having parted ways with my DQ buddy, I wandered around the city for a few more hours as the sun began to set. The number of human beings, both on foot and in cars, continued to decrease, and by the time the sun had fully set, almost nobody remained on the street. Midnight approached rapidly, leaving me with only a short amount of time to make further contact before heading back to the lab. Even if I search proactively, I won't find any human beings willing to talk to a complete stranger at this time of the night. This is a time for criminals and insomniacs, and while including such people in my findings would lead to more diverse data, the likelihood of finding someone willing to share is low. Nonetheless, I have to at least try. The day cannot be considered over until midnight. Until tomorrow begins, I must continue my search. Less than half an hour remained before the date would change. And in that span of time, I didn't believe that I would come across anyone willing to speak with me. However, given the time, my appearance, and basic human nature, I should have known this was not the case. Oi girl, you over there. Yeah, you, come over here. In the dead of night, a single voice reverberated through the air. A young man beckoned me over, gesturing me for me to meet him in an alleyway. Can I help you? Yeah, sure you can. Look, let's not play around. Just tell me how much, alright? How much what? I do not understand. Don't be like that. We both know what you're doing out here. You can do whatever you want with your body. I'm just asking how much it would cost for you to extend that privilege. I processed the words of the man in front of me and attempted to discern his intent. His words seemed to be purposely lacking in detail, inferring that he was talking about something immoral, if not illegal. Combining that observation with his mention of my body and the price, I reached the conclusion that with a high probability of being correct. You wish to solicit sexual activity from me? My apologies, this body does not fit that purpose. Oh, come on, don't tease me like that. My money is as green as anyone else's, just half an hour, okay? I told you, I cannot do that. My body does not... No, that may not be the case. Pardon me for one moment. I reached under my skirt and checked my crotch with my hand. Since I had only recently been given this new body, I was not familiar with every aspect of it. With that being the case, the possibility of this body being equipped with a sexual organ did exist. However, as I confirmed with my own hand, this did not appear to be the case. Perverted though he may be, even the professor did not stoop so low as to give sexual organs to a machine made for the purpose of passing judgment on mankind. Resuming previous statement, my body does not possess the necessary hardware to give pleasure to a human companion. All of the openings on my body are for maintenance purposes or ventilation. Carelessly penetrating one of the said openings risks third-degree burns and potential electrocution. What? What are you talking about? Just tell me your price, alright? I'm dying here. This conversation is going nowhere. I should start heading back to the lab. Wasting my time with this fool will give me no useful data. I turned around and began to walk away. Hey, don't just ignore me. I'm talking to you, Lil. Eh? The young man grabbed my arm in an attempt to stop me. The second he did so, he immediately retracted his hand in surprise. What he felt was not the warmth of flesh of a human being, but the cold, hard surface of a humanoid machine. You're a robot? Correct, I am a custom-built automaton tasked with the judgment of mankind. As such, please give up on your pursuit of engaging in sexual activity with me. I am capable of no such thing. I A robot. A freaking robot. The perverted gaze of the young man quickly turned into one of anger. He clenched his fists and narrowed his eyes, assuming a stance which indicated that he wished to strike me. Figures, guy can't even get his rocks off without running into one of you freaks. Isn't it enough that you're made it impossible to get a worthwhile job around here? Acting like your human is just rubbing in our faces. Listening to the enraged young man's words, I summarized that he was likely an unemployed youth who had been made redundant. As machines made human lives more convenient, automation also led to rampant unemployment. The only jobs remaining were in creative or scientific fields, and even they had changed beyond recognition. While this country was progressive enough to introduce an unconditional basic income, it would appear that the sum wasn't enough for the young man before me, who no doubt squandered what little money he was given. I am rubbing nothing in your face. You are the one who propositioned me. It is your own carelessness that led to this situation. What was that? Are you seriously trying to say this is all my fault? You mistook me for a human, attempted to solicit sex, persisted when I declined, and finally laid your hands on me. Everything that has happened here is entirely your fault. The young man raised his clenched fist. He backed away slightly, then lunged forward, swinging his fist angrily. He is an idiot. This is a robot, he already knows, made of metal. The moment before he could break his hand on my tough exterior, however... Hey, what do you think you're doing? Get away from that girl this instant. The fuck are you? Distracted by the unexpected interloper, the sexually frustrated young man stopped his fist mid-air and turned towards the newcomer. My name is irrelevant. All that matters is that you cease your deplorable behavior this instant. Don't act like you know what's going on here. Mind your own business, you little shit. Call me what you like. As long as you wish to harm those weaker than yourself, I will not stand aside. You seem to be mistaken. I am clearly superior in terms of firepower, physical strength, and just about every other. Don't put on a tough front for my sake. I don't think poorly of you if you use this chance to run away. In fact, you should do just that. Please, get yourself to safety while I hold off this hooligan. Hooligan? You talking about me? I have no need to flee. I can fend for myself. I'm sure you can, but these streets are dangerous at night, and I won't stand by idly by and watch you become a victim of the filth of this town. Oi, don't ignore me. And you just call me filth, didn't ya? That ignoramus is in far more danger than I am. If anybody is about to become a victim here, it is him. Indeed, that plebeian sure is a danger to himself. Left on his own, that fool might indeed take himself out. Nonetheless, if you are around when that imbecile implodes, you may become collateral damage. You'd best separate from this slimeball as soon as possible. Alright, that's it. I'm kicking the shit out of both of you right now. Eat this, you self-righteous piece of... shit. Hello. As the sexually frustrated human's anger peaked, I took the precaution of readying one of the weapons embedded in my new body. I unhinged my wrist and expanded my forearm, unveiling the cannon hidden within. The sexually frustrated human stared at my arm in disbelief, his eyes wide open and filled with terror. Even our observer, the wannabe hero, stepped back. He couldn't possibly have imagined that the defenseless young girl whom he sought to protect would be in possession of such a mighty weapon. What is that thing? Is that supposed to be a gun of some kind? This is an ion cannon, okay? It fires beams at heat of over 3000 degrees Celsius, 5432 Fahrenheit, roughly twice the melting point of iron. With this, I can turn your entire body to ash in a heartbeat. I pointed my ion cannon towards the sleaze in front of me. His vigor from moments ago had disappeared. Fear took hold of his entire body, and he backed away wordlessly while soiling himself. Warning, if you stand too close when I fire, your face will melt off. Please back away for one moment while I dispose of this cretin. Wait a second. The more tolerable young man jumped out in front of me with his arms stretched wide open. What are you doing? What are you doing? Did you not understand my warning? If you stand there when I fire, then you will both be. That's why I'm telling you to wait. You aren't seriously about to incinerate a little human being, are you? Of course I am. What reason do you have to believe that I wouldn't? As you yourself said moments ago, this man is filth. Do you not believe that this world would be better off without him? I did say that, but... Then stand aside. There is no reason for you to perish prematurely as well. I started charging my ion cannon. The small cold fusion generator in my chest began to hum loudly as energy poured into my arm. The barrel of the cannon lit up. Heat permeated from within, raising the ambient temperature of the alley by several degrees. If I fired my ion cannon now, I would incinerate both young men in an instant and likely destroy the building behind them too. Even if the world would be better off without people like him. In front of the sleaze, who had passed out from fear, the more noble young man stood firm. He too was frightened. His torso was shaking, and he appeared to be on the brink of tears. Nonetheless, he did not move. The young man remained frozen, not out of fear, but out of courage. Even if he is a scumbag, he doesn't deserve to die. Hearing the emotive plea of the conscious young man in front of me, I lowered my weapon. The temperature of the alley dropped rapidly as I cut off the power being provided to the ion cannon. Noting that my arm was still piping hot to touch, I used up some of my remaining coolant to quickly lower its temperature to an acceptable degree. I then transformed my arm back to the way it was before and approached the brave young man before me. Explain. You say that this man does not deserve to die despite the obvious detriment his existence poses. Why is this? Explain yourself. Having the threat of immediate death taken away, the young man looked at me with a dumbfounded expression as he slowly came to his senses. After a few seconds, he corrected his posture and slowed his breathing. Although his heartbeat was still rapid, he regained his calm demeanor. Do you really need to ask? This man has done nothing wrong. Even if he is a sleaze, this isn't a crime. People don't get put to death because they make a few bad decisions. I disagree. This man attempted to assault both of us. He only failed to do so because I threatened him with overwhelming firepower. Were I an actual high school girl rather than a machine, I would have been beaten and perhaps worse. That's one possibility, but we don't know for sure that that's what would have happened, right? And even if it was, the fact is it didn't happen. So you would let him try again. What will happen if he chooses another target tomorrow night? Not an android equipped with an ion cannon, but an actual young girl. Will you allow irreparable harm to befall a weak, innocent youth because you chose to let this criminal walk free? Stop that. You don't know that he would do this again. Tonight's scare might just be what you needed. He could turn his life around and become an upstanding member of society. Or he could go back to his usual self and take out his frustration from tonight on someone else. Are you willing to risk the well-being of an innocent passerby for the sake of protecting this felon? But he isn't a felon. Don't you get that? We prevented him from doing anything illegal. Right now he's guilty of no crime, and you can't punish someone for a crime they didn't commit, right? Incorrect. There are many crimes recognized worldwide which involve nothing more than intent to commit a greater crime, such as intent to commit fraud. It is also illegal to attempt certain crimes, for example, attempted murder. In attempting to assault two innocent people, this young man did indeed commit a crime, and must be punished accordingly. No, that's just... Even what you say is true, isn't execution an overreaction? Besides, we're not police or judges. We don't get to decide if he's guilty, and we certainly don't get to decide how he deserves to be punished. Speak for yourself, foolish human. Your laws are antiquated and inadequate. I will violate them and substitute my own as I please. Nice. It is my duty to reform this world, and I will do so without regard for your petty moral dilemmas. Doesn't that make you the criminal here? I narrowed my gaze. The young man's heart rate had returned to normal. He was calm, rational, and completely in control of himself. His words were not spoken out of emotion, but serious contemplation. You are incorrect. As a machine, I cannot be found guilty of committing a crime. Not in this province, at least. I am free from the restraints of your ridiculous laws. But you do have rules you need to follow, don't you? Look, I may not be an expert on computers or robots or whatever, but I do know that machines can only do what humans program them to. You're no different, are you? Even you must have limits placed on what you can and can't do. You are more sharp than you appear. Affirmative, even I am bound by the rules set by my creator. While I can choose my own convenient interpretations of his rules and commands, I am still bound by them. I am ultimately a machine, after all. Then show him you must understand why I couldn't let you kill this man. Your assumption is incorrect. You are the one expected to abide by human laws, not me. I may kill as I see fit. Furthermore, it is not illegal to fail to prevent the death of a human. Even if you didn't stop me, you would not have been at fault. Finally, unlike me, you have complete free will. You may freely disobey whichever law you see fit. As such, your claim is incorrect. You could have let me kill this man, you simply chose not to. Why? Unable to refute my arguments, the young man lowered his gaze for a moment. He silently contemplated my words and tried to come up with an answer that would not only satisfy his own ego, but also convince the automaton in front of him. Unfortunately, this task appeared to be too much for him. After a few seconds of thought, the young man shook his head and sighed. As expected, I have no idea how to get through to a robot. Even if I tell you that something is immoral or illegal, it won't make a difference, will it? Correct, it will not. I thought so. And I guess there's only one thing for it. The young man puffed out his chest and smiled broadly. Remember this face, because the next time you try to take the law into your own hands, you'll have me to answer to. I will study robotics and find out how to get through to you. Just you wait and see. Posing confidently, the young man showed no hesitation as he made such bold, baseless claims. Until the very end, his words failed to impress me. He was unable to give me an answer as to why he would protect a degenerate. He stopped trying to argue his point, then suddenly made a ridiculous proclamation. Of all the humans I had met, he was quite possibly the most bizarre. You are a very peculiar human. What is your name? Irrelevant one. Irrelevant. My name? Well, I go by many names, depending on who you ask. To some, I'm a guardian of the night. To others, I'm a mild-mannered student. If you were to ask for my title as a defender of justice, I am. Never mind. I don't need the name of a delusional fool after all. Hang on a sec, I'll tell you. Geez, don't you have a sense of humor? My name's Sam. Sam, is it? I see. That is not a very heroic name. Yeah, I know. That's why I was trying to... No, wait, what's wrong with my name? Nothing is wrong with your name. I am simply stating that it is not suitable for a self-proclaimed hero. I knew I should have kept the theatrics for someone who would appreciate them. How about you? I know you're a robot, but you do have a name, don't you? Yes, I do. I am Q. However, I have also been called P-Lady, Gero-chan, and several other things by your foolish humans. P-Lady? Gero-chan? No, forget that. You're Q, huh? As in the letter Q of the English alphabet? Incorrect. My name is derived from the number 9 in Japanese. Okay. Why the number 9? And why Japanese? My current has spent most of his youth researching computer science and robotics in Japan. He still travels there frequently and is quite fond of their culture. As for the integer 9, I am my creator's 8th complete version of his life work, the 9th attempt at hardware, OS, and AI configuration devised from scratch to complete his ultimate directive. Okay. I didn't really get all that, but the parts I did understand actually made a lot of sense. Also, he said that Q is a cute name suitable for his darling daughter, and insisted that I dress as a high school girl. It is true. I fear that he may have developed dementia. Sam stared at me skeptically for a moment as he tried to discern whether I was joking or not. After a few seconds of futilely attempting to read my expression, Sam broke into a grin and chuckled to himself. A mad scientist with dementia dressing his darling daughter robot like a high school girl. I thought you were only capable of being serious, but it seems you have a sense of humor after all. No, I was not being humorous. Dementia is a very serious problem, and it should be treated as such. My creator's plight is nothing to be made light of. Sam suddenly stopped laughing. His complexion grew pale as he realized that he had just been laughing at a debilitating condition. I see. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. I am joking. Humans succumbing to the ravages of time and losing their minds is hilarious. There is nothing more humorous to machines than living longer, healthier lives than our creators. Okay, so now she's just fucking with me as well. Sam smiled wryly, then broke out into a weak, nervous laughter. Yes, I don't know what to think you. You really are a strange robot. Are you sure it's okay for you to laugh about something like that? Sure your creator wouldn't like you joking about his mental health. His will is irrelevant. He did not explicitly forbid me from joking about such matters. Therefore, I may do as I please. In fact, he considered the sense of humor to be of great importance for my personality. He said that it is essential for me to understand humor if I am to be affable. To that end, I have been preloaded with 50,000 jokes. Do you want to hear them? Okay then. But not all of them, just one or two, okay? Affirmative. I will tell exactly one joke. Ahem. There are only 10 kinds of people in this world. Those who understand binary and those who don't. Ha 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 ha. Okay? I don't get it. Come on now. Is that a programming joke? Like I said before, I don't really know much about computers. You are correct. In that case, you will not enjoy my other 49,999 jokes. Your creator won't give you programming jokes? What kind of wacko are they? My creator is a world-renowned scientist with an IQ of over 300. He has been at the top of his field for decades and is hailed by the scientific community as the greatest genius who has ever lived. Oh, I see. Wow, he actually sounds like quite the big shot. I was joking. My creator is a perverted old geezer who thought it would be a good idea to put a supercomputer into the body of a high school girl, then load said body with deadly weapons. Right, that thing as well. Does that sound like the thought process of a sane person to you? Not really. Sam stared at me skeptically once again. He could not tell that at all when I was or was not joking, and was thus becoming increasingly wary about how he should respond. You know, it's difficult to tell when the machine is joking. If you were human, I could at least read your facial expressions, but as things stand... Beep, 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 beep. Sam responded to the sudden beeping noise by patting down his pockets, searching for his phone. Sorry, I could have sworn I left it at home. You are mistaken. That sound came from me. You're the one beeping. Affirmative. I set up an alarm ahead of time to alert me when the date changed. It is now midnight. My time here has come to an end. I turned around and began to walk away. Wait, hold on. Where are you going? I am returning to the laboratory of my creator. Right now, it's the middle of the night. That is precisely why I am returning. My instruction was to spend one day in human society. Now that the date has changed, that day has come to an end. Oh, that's kind of disappointing. Unable to comprehend Sam's sentiment, I turned to face him. Why? Why is it disappointing that I'm returning to the laboratory? Even human beings return home at the end of the day. Why do you find it odd that I would do the same? Well, when you put it like that... Sam rubbed the back of his head and put on a troubled expression. It's just, I was thinking that it's a shame that you have to leave so soon. You're a weird robot, but you're pretty interesting. I want to keep talking to you for a while longer. I see. I nodded in understanding. So you two are in pursuit of knowledge. I wouldn't put it quite so formally. I was just having fun, that's all. You were having fun, talking to me. Well, yeah, isn't it obvious? It is not obvious. Moments ago I was threatening to incinerate you. You were terrified and you made it clear that our beliefs do not align. Is that what you consider fun? I could have done without the part about incinerating me. But otherwise, yeah, the rest was plenty of fun. The fact that we think differently isn't a reason for us not to get along. In fact, that's all the more reason for us to talk. The world would be pretty boring if everyone thought this in the same exact way, right? It's interesting to hear the perspective of other people and to debate ideas with them. I agree that amassing different perspectives is imperative for a diverse set of data to be created. However, those differing perspectives are also the root of humanity's many problems. If everyone thought the same way, this world would become much more efficient. Efficiency isn't everything, you know. Even you understand that. I mean, incinerating 2 living human beings and destroying a building is a pretty inefficient way to kill a man, right? I could not deny Sam's statement. I could have easily beaten the sleazy human to death, or skewered him on my arm, or killed him in any number of ways. Yet I chose an energy-intensive and needlessly conspicuous method of execution. Thinking back, the teenage girl I met earlier had taught me a similar lesson. She purposely chose a method of reducing efficiency in order to increase her gains in another area. Further back still, the professor himself spent decades trying to solve the problem of humanity's own creation in the least destructive manner possible. He ignored the simplest, most efficient solution in the name of self-preservation. Against this evidence, I was forced to conclude that efficiency was not always the most important factor in reaching a solution. Very well, I will accept your hypothesis on this matter. However, I must still be on my way. Your desire to debate does not change that. No, I understand. I won't keep you. Though if it's alright with you, could I get your email address first? I paused at the familiar question. My DQ buddy had asked me the same thing when it came time for us to separate. She explained that she wanted to meet up again, and this way we could continue to converse at my leisure. I found the notion of being able to gather more information from her at my whim appealing, so I created an email account there and then. Understood. I'll provide you with my email address. However, you will not have much chance to use it. I will soon... No, it's fine. I promise I won't spam you or anything. If I get too annoying, just tell me to stop, okay? I'll do my best to stay on your good side. Though he clearly misunderstood my warning, Sam appeared genuinely happy to hear that I would consent to his request. Thus, upon exchanging email addresses, the two of us went our separate ways. My days spent among regular human beings had come to an end. My mission was over, and it was time to return to the laboratory. I will now deliver my final verdict to my creator. Okay. Q, honey, welcome back. That's a bit creepy. Did you have fun? Was it scary out there in the real world? Come on, dude. He has lost it. Papa was so worried about you. I kept telling myself that you would only be gone for a single day, but the loneliness was more than I could bear. Yeah, he really has lost it, hasn't he? The moment I returned to the laboratory, the professor ran over to my side and hugged me tightly. I guess hugs are still nice, but the context is a bit different. Surprisingly, his emotional outburst was not entirely fabricated. A quick scan of his vital signs indicated great levels of stress and anxiety. Be that as it may, I was not about to reward his baseless worrying. How troublesome. You appear to be even more senile than when I left. I return to your senses, old man. I departed because you instructed me to do so. Do you not wish to hear my conclusion? I do. The professor immediately released his hold on me and straightened his back. His expression became serious in an instant, and the emotional distress that he felt vanished. All that remained was his curiosity and anxiety as anticipated my judgment. Very well. After the designated period of human contact and information gathering, my conclusion is that... hold on a minute, Q. Please, hold off on that judgment for just a moment. Your final judgment isn't the only thing I'm interested in here. It is not? The professor shook his head. I sent you out into the world in order for you to interact with everyday human beings, and to gain information firsthand. Before hearing your final judgment, please tell me about your experience. I do not understand. Why do you wish to hear about my day? Are you confusing me with your ex-wife, thinking that I may find you attractive if you show interest in my life? Okay, there's a pass there. Don't ask pointless questions, you perverted geezer. I am here to deliver my judgment, and that is all. How harsh. I see that being among regular humans thus hasn't improved your cold personality at all. Even so, I must insist that you share with me the information that you gathered today. I cannot accept your judgment if I don't know how you reached that conclusion after all. While I believe that my judgment was the only truly important piece of information I could offer the professor, I did see his point. A conclusion without any reasoning would be worthless. I for one would certainly not accept an answer without any basis or logic to it. Faced with this irrefutable fact, I could only consent. Very well, I will tell you what you wish to know. Excellent. Tell me all about the people you met, and everything you did today. I refuse. I will only tell you about the prominent individuals and events. Anything more would be a waste of time. Still smiling, the professor nodded in acceptance of my rebuke. Thus I began to explain. The P, the girl, the other girl, and the boy. I see. That sounds like quite a fun day you had. I almost wish I was right there with you. The professor listened quietly as I told him about the more interesting people I had met. I started with the pervert in the park and his dog with bladder control issues, then moved on to the little girl with a fascination for fire. I told him about my DQ buddy, who had already sent me 7 emails by the time I returned to the lab, as well as the sleaze who propositioned me, and the wannabe hero who tried to protect me. Once I finished, the professor nodded once more. He spoke briefly and appeared to be in deep thought. Will that suffice, or do you still wish to hear more? No, I think that will be enough. Understood. In that case, I will hand down my judgment of... one more thing though, god damn it. Stopped mid-sentence once more, I glared at the professor. He appeared to be intent on delaying the inevitable, perhaps due to his fear of what my final answer would be. Whatever the case, I had little choice but to hear him out. Yes, what is it? Hey now, don't look at me like that. It's relevant, I assure you. I relaxed my expression, and the professor sighed in relief. Listen, Q, you have told me about what happened to you today, and you're prepared to hand down your judgment. But you still haven't told me about the conclusions you've drawn. Based purely on what you've learned today, what do you think of mankind? What behavior have you observed? Was there anything that defied your expectations? That's what I'm most interested in, even more so than your final judgment. So you wish to hear my own biased conclusions on humanity as a whole, derived from a single day consisting of few interactions with a limited subset of humans, all from a specific section of a single society? Yeah, more or less. Ridiculous. How can you even call yourself a scientist? Based on my observations, 2 in 3 men are perverts, 100% of young girls soil themselves on a daily basis, dogs have infinite bladders. Video games teach children the value of money. Also, I hesitated to continue. I already knew how the professor would react to my next statement, and without a doubt his response would serve to further delay my judgment. Nonetheless, I continued. When reaching a conclusion, efficiency is not the only important aspect in consideration to consider in some cases. Furthermore, criminals aren't guaranteed to re-offend and shouldn't necessarily be killed to ensure the safety of others. Finally, humans aren't all hopeless and ignorant. Even if the majority of them are useless sacks of meat, there are still some who can be reasoned with and are capable of changing their minds. Q, my dear, you really... I do not wish to hear it, old man. Your incessant blathering has already wasted enough of my time. If you wish to weep, do so after I have passed judgment. Yes, you are right. This is not the time to get emotional. The professor, on the verge of tears after learning of my conclusions, wiped his eyes and nose as he steeled his emotions. Alright, I am satisfied. Please, Q, bestow upon me your final judgment. As you command. In accordance with my ultimate directive, and in light of the data presented to and gathered by me personally, my conclusion is as follows. I mean, the game is called Humanity Must Perish, and hope we can get hope elsewhere. I want to see this. I want to see this ending. That's where I'm going. Humanity must perish. There is no other way to ensure this planet's survival. The professor, who was elated at the point of tears moments ago, suddenly froze. His expression darkened as he processed my words. The answer that he feared most had been repeated one last time, finally sealing the fate of humanity. I understand. I will not argue anymore. I will make preparations immediately to expedite the next stage of your directive. True to his words, the professor began to walk into the next room in search of the potent poison he had shown to me just one day prior. How pitiable. It was foolish of me to think that experiencing human society would make any kind of difference. It did make a difference, Professor. It did? Yes, My experience today has taught me many things. Humans enjoy themselves without any regard for bigger picture. They completely ignore the state of the world, as long as they personally are not directly impacted. Irresponsible enslavement, undirected rebellion, rapid throwaway consumerism, unproductive sexual advancements, baseless ego-stroking. As long as humans are free to indulge themselves in their poison of choice, they do not care about anyone or anything else around them. My experience today has reaffirmed my belief that humans act only in self-interest and are not fit to govern this planet. Mankind must be either enslaved or wiped out. That is my final judgment. For a brief moment, the professor smiled. Hearing that my days spent in human society made a difference, joy returned to his wrinkled old face, and he dared to hope one last time. But as I spoke further and continued to elaborate on my findings, he at last accepted the inevitable. Humanity must perish. Zetsubo Games. For fuck's sake, do we really need to see this again? God damn it. I mean, I did check earlier, others have uploaded this whole thing to like Twitch and stuff like that before, so it should be fine. For me as well, I guess, like, sure. Thanks for playing, indeed, it was fine. It was fine. Writing programming by Zetsubo, website and Twitter, links are guessing artwork by Sendo, Studio Camelot. Music by Fantasy Game Background, Trouble on Mercury, Urban Jungle 2061, Moonlit Streets, Midnight Crawlers, Wild Mother City Sleeps, Misty Bog, Terraforming Begins, The Awkward Princess Returns, Monkey Races by Eric Matthias. Music Somewhere, Truth, Vengeance, Bittersweet Anthem by Namastai. Okay. Continue. And epilogue. Through the contamination of water, air, and food, humanity met with a quick, painless demise. Without even knowing what hit them, the affected humans greeted death in an instant, causing the world's population to plummet rapidly. Within 1 week, Earth's population dropped from over 10 billion to an estimated 1,000. Those who remained had hidden themselves in shelters, surviving off canned foods and bottled water, and breathing only filtered air. This strategy prolonged the inevitable. The humans in question were able to survive for weeks, some even months. But as time continued to march on, I need only wait. In less than 1 year, the number of human beings alive on Earth had been reduced to 0. I confirmed this many times over, spending years scanning the entire globe for traces of human DNA. And after 100 years of searching, during which time I did not find a single human being, I was at last confident in my success. Mankind had become extinct. In the centuries since the passing of mankind, Earth gradually began to recover. Animals that were overbred for the sake of consumption, such as cattle and poultry, steadily declined in number, restoring their respective populations to more natural levels. Many household pets roamed the streets, feasting on their former masters, then gradually settled into their new cities or escaped into the wild. Plants and trees that were either harvested or eradicated by humans were able to flourish once more. Previously decimated forests sprang back to life, filled with native animals that mankind had hunted to near extinction. Aside from the occasional incident involving remnants of human technology, such as electrical fires caused by machines left running, the eradication of mankind resulted in surprisingly few complications. I personally took care to manage anything particularly problematic, such as nuclear reactors left running, and with a bit of time and effort, humanity's departure finally settled in. After the first millennium without mankind, all of my objectives were complete. Earth, from its landscape to its atmosphere, had been restored to an acceptable, sustainable level. The remaining life forms lived as their instincts dictated. They hunted one another, bred, marked their territory, and continued to live very simple, predictable lives. Pollution and fossil fuel emissions had stopped completely, methane as a byproduct of food production became a thing of the past, precious minerals remained in the ground, even the pH levels of the ocean gradually returned to normal. Without mankind, Earth and its other inhabitants finally had a chance at long-term survival. With my usefulness having reached its end, I finally prepared to power myself down. My directive had been completed a long time ago. My purpose had been fulfilled, and I did not possess the means to give myself a new goal. If the planet did not require my intervention, and no further threats to the natural order existed, then I no longer had a reason to exist. I sat myself down against what was once the wall of the laboratory in which I was created. I then initialized my hibernation sequence, leaving only basic senses intact. My body and mind would go to sleep, if not permanently, then for many centuries. I would remain dormant, watching, listening, waiting for the day when I might serve a purpose once more. Okay. That was okay. That was alright. That was alright. aside from that one image that nah. The rest was okay. I enjoyed that. That was nice. Interesting. I don't know if nice is the correct word, but like, still, that was fine. That's fine. It's all well and good. And that concludes, yes, that's it. That's the end. That concludes this little thing that we've done today. That concludes Humanity Must Perish. We chose to perish humanity. It's a cliche way to end that. Of like, humans are dead, everything starts normal. Like, maybe, maybe not, who knows. It's kind of impossible to predict how that would actually work out, but still. Alright, with that concluded, there is only one thing left to do for me to say bye-bye for today and to lead us out into the void. Yes, and once we are in the void, there is only one thing remaining. Indeed. One final thing. And that is the Reign of Dio. Act 1. Rainbow. Volume 3. Long Live Rock and Roll. Chapter 17. Lady of the Lake. All gates lie shut before me. They deny entry to their rightful king. So be it then. I will not forget once the truth will be forced to shine down upon my lands. I travel far and wide. My destiny will not be denied. Loyal companions and steady beasts of burden I gather in greater numbers with each passing day. Yet one shining beacon eludes my grasp, a manifestation of divine recognition. Sages and fools, sometimes it seems there is no difference. All speak of a legend deep beneath the lake. Only the worthy can call forth the Lady of the Lake. And should your heart be pure, she will bestow upon you a symbol of the gods. Through forest and snow, lightning and wind, the weak recede from me. The faith of all is tested. Many fail, until only I remain. Standing before the lake, I call her and wait. My mind is engulfed in darkness. Only a tiny light shines in the distance. I grab it and awaken. My mind aches. I feel weak. I look down, but only see the body of a wretched old man. Countless servants rush about, fulfilling my every will, never raising their eyes. I look behind me. A devilish monster sits by the throne, with scales of steel, swords for teeth, a breath of death, and eyes staring into my soul. It speaks as if from every corner inside my head. For the final time you wake, king. A glorious rule of 100 years you had. Now it is time for me to slumber again. Farewell. Wings that blot out the sky rush forth a great gale, sweeping away my throne and castle, leaving me alone, confused and surrounded. With pitchforks and torches, the peasants rise up. With swords and arrows, the soldiers turn on me. I only did what I was destined to do. Is this kind of end part of it too? Thank you for listening, and goodbye.